Good evening and welcome to the Cerritos Planning Commission meeting for Wednesday, January 8th, 2025. We'd like to begin with a call to order. We are going to now stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the roll call.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair and members of the Cerritos Planning Commission. We'll begin with roll call. Commission Member Byrd, noted absent. Commissioner Member Javeri.
Yes.
Commissioner Member Polito.
Present.
Vice Chair Gandhi.
Present.
And Chair Gilheis.
Present.
All members noted present with the exception of Commissioner Byrd. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the roll call. At this point,
Chair, before we begin the meeting, can I request we have 2 minutes of silence for the thousands of homes that we have lost in this unprecedented fire? Is it okay to have that?
Yes, that would be okay.
yes, that's fine. We can do it. We'll start now. Okay, thank you, Commissioner Javari, for suggesting that. At this point, we'll move into an announcement.
Yes, good evening again, Chair and members of the Planning Commission. This evening, I want to just take a moment before we get into the regular business of the Planning Commission to introduce to the Commission, members of the public, and those at home, the City of Cerritos' new Assistant City Attorney, Shukhan Patel. Mr. Patel comes to the City of Cerritos with 3 years' experience assisting the City Attorney, Pam Lee. And so at this time, I will direct your attention to Mr. Patel, who would like to say a few words. Thank you.
Good evening, members of the Planning Commission, Honorable Chair. My name is Shukhan Patel, and I'm an Associate Attorney at Alshire & Winder. By way of background, I did my bachelor's degree and went to law school at UCLA. And some of my practice areas include housing and land use. And I was part of a litigation team that successfully challenged the implementation of Senate Bill 9 on behalf of 5 charter cities, for which the City of Cerritos submitted a brief supporting our position. And we were led in that litigation by our current city attorney, Pam Lee. By way of personal background, I also have family, friends, and relatives that live in the City of Cerritos, and my dad grew up around this area. So I really look forward to serving the city and working with you all this year and beyond. Thank you.
Great, thank you, and welcome to the team. You had me at, you went to UCLA. So, welcome. Okay, so the next thing on the agenda is public comments and suggestions. This section is reserved for public comment on the consent calendar and items not listed on the agenda that are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the commission. Verbal comments will be limited to 3 minutes per speaker, subject to the chair extending to a maximum of 5 minutes per speaker, with a total time allotted not to exceed 45 minutes unless the chair extends. So I call the public comments open. If you'd like to come up and speak, please approach the stand and state your name for the record. Okay, seeing that no one has come forward, I will close the public comments section and we'll move on to the consent calendar item. Approval of the minutes for Wednesday, December 4th, 2024 at the 7 p.m. Planning Commission regular meeting minutes.
I make a motion.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve the minutes by Commissioner Javari with a second by Commissioner Polito. Can we have a vote?
Yes, thank you, Chair. At this time, I will activate the electronic voting. Voting is open. Commissioners may place their vote. All votes in. Motion passes by a vote of 3-4, 1 abstention, and 1 absent. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the public hearing items, starting with 6A. It's review and consideration to waive the full reading of and adopt a resolution of the Cerritos Planning Commission approving Precise Plan 2025-1. This is a proposal by the residential property owners to demolish an existing single-story residence and construct a new 2-story residence. Who will be giving us this presentation?
Yes, thank you, Chair Gilheis. As mentioned, the item before you under 6A is Precise Plan 2025-1, consideration of a new 2-story residence and 3-car garage. This item this evening will be presented by Associate Planner Wyman Wong. Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen. Good evening, Chair and members of the Planning Commission. The property owners of 12923 Chelmsford Lane are requesting approval of Precise Plan 2025-1 to demolish an existing single-story home and construct a new 5,019 square foot 2-story residence with a 735 square foot 3-car garage. For details of this project, I would like to direct your attention to the screen for a presentation. This is an aerial photo of the subject property, which is generally located south of South Street and west of Shoemaker Avenue. The subject property is located within the Shadow Park Master Plan community. This is an enlarged aerial view that shows the details of the property. The property is bordered on all sides by single-family homes. The subject property is bordered on the southeast by Chelmsford Lane, across which are also single-family homes. This is a view of the front of the existing single-story home, looking west from Chelmsford Lane. This is a view of the rear and side yard of the subject property looking southeast. Here you can see the existing patio, rear walkways, and the residence, which will be demolished to accommodate the proposed project. This is a view of the rear yard of the subject property looking west from within the property. This is the proposed site plan showing the footprint of the new 2-story home. As mentioned, the applicants are proposing to construct a new 6,519 square foot home with a 730 square foot 3-car garage. The proposal also includes relocating the driveway to the southern side of the property, which will remove an existing tree in the parkway. As such, Project-Specific Condition 42 has been added to require the installation of a new replacement private parkway tree from the Shadow Park Homeowners Association approved tree list. The replacement tree shall be a minimum 24-inch box, and the species of tree will be subject to the review and approval of the city arborist and the Department of Community Development prior to installation. As proposed, the project will meet all setback and lot coverage requirements. This is the adjacent neighbor plan. As shown on this plan, there is no direct alignment of windows with adjacent properties to the north, south, and west. In addition, the homeowners are proposing 2 balconies, one at the front of the residence and one at the rear of the residence. It should be noted, however, that there are no privacy concerns or anticipated from the previous proposed balconies due to their design and placement relative to the surrounding properties. This is the proposed first floor plan. When completed, the first floor will include a prayer room, an office, a great room, a kitchen, a dirty kitchen, 2 bedrooms with bathrooms, a powder room, and a laundry room. This is the proposed second floor plan. The new second floor will include a master bedroom with master bathroom, 3 bedrooms with bathrooms, and a loft. This is the proposed front elevation. The residence will feature sections of white colored stone cladding and roofing eaves, producing shade variations above the proposed balconies on the front and rear elevations. The front elevation will feature brown fiberglass entry doors, bronze-colored aluminum and obscured glass garage doors, and large vertical windows allowing for greater natural sunlight. Project-specific condition of approval 43 has been added to ensure that the garage door windows be fixed with obscure glass, subject to the review and approval of the Department of Community Development and Shadow Park Homeowners Association. In addition, it should be noted that, as proposed, a few windows located on the first and second floor at the front of the residence, including windows with mullions, which is not typical for residential homes. A mullion is a vertical or horizontal bar between panes of glass, accordingly, as this is not commonly found on residential properties. Project-specific condition of approval 44 has been added to specify that the large windows with mullions be considered for approval on a one-time trial basis for this residence only, subject to the review and approval by the city. This will allow staff to view the windows once installed to determine the acceptability for substantial insulations in the future. This is a rear elevation showing the rear balcony, which will be finished with partial sections of white-colored, smooth stucco, and accentuated with natural-colored composition siding with black-color railings to complement the architecture of the home. This is the north side elevation. As you can see, the home will feature building offsets, and the roof will be covered with a charcoal blend colored concrete tile. This is the south side elevation, which features the same architectural enhancements found on the other elevations. The architect has prepared a color palette and material board for the Planning Commission's review, which is provided for you at the dais. All exterior colors and materials will be subject to approval of the Department of Community Development to ensure that these elements complement the entire house and surrounding homes. This is perspective rendering of the front and south side elevation looking northeast. Note that the new side yard walls at the front of the property are not currently proposed and are shown here for illustrative purposes only. However, an existing 1-foot-high CMU wall on the eastern property line will remain. This is a perspective rendering of the front east elevation. This is a perspective rendering of the rear elevation looking east. A notice of public hearing notice regarding this item was mailed to owners of properties within 500 feet of the subject property on December 27, 2024, at least 10 days prior to the public hearing this evening, as required by the Cerritos Municipal Code. Notice was also posted at the city's 4 designated posting boards on December 27, 2024. The staff report and all exhibits were posted on the city's website. In response to the public hearing notice from this project, planning staff received 3 comments from residents that reside within 500 feet of the subject property. The residents expressed concerns related to potential traffic and parking impacts generated during construction. In addition, concerns were raised regarding potential privacy impacts from the balcony at the front of the residence, as well as impacts to their street view from the first floor. In response to comments received related to parking and traffic during construction, the homeowner and project architect have indicated that any vehicles associated with construction will be parked either on site or on the west side of Moore Shore Drive to prevent blocking the ingress-egress of residential driveways, allowing postal to deliver mail, and allowing for access for emergency vehicles to pass through without any issues. In addition, planning staff has discussed with applicants the requirements and conditions for construction in order to ensure that the applicant complies with the grading and drainage regulations, dust control and pedestrian safety during construction, permitted hours of construction, and the requirement for a project site perimeter fence on the property. In addition, the proposed 2-story balcony at the front of the property is set back approximately 15 feet from the property line and will not have any second-floor direct window alignments to the home. No privacy view concern is anticipated. This concludes the PowerPoint presentation. Staff recommends the Planning Commission approve Precise Plan 2025-1, subject to all conditions of approval contained in the report. This project is category exempt from CEQA. At this time, the developer and property owner are in the audience. Staff is available to answer any questions that the Planning Commission may have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the. So at this point in time, we'll open it up for conversation amongst the commission. Commissioner Gandhi, do you have anything?
Thank you, Chair. My first question was about the comments. It says you received the same neighbor, or was it 3 different comments from 3 different people?
It was from 3 different neighbors, residents within 500 feet.
Okay, and they all had the same concern, or each one had an individual concern? Because I only have one communication that we received via email.
I can go ahead and address that. Thank you, Vice Chair Gandhi. The correspondence that was received in writing, the written correspondence, there were 2 emails from separate property owners within 500 feet. Those were provided to the Planning Commission prior to tonight's meeting. The 3rd comment was not provided in writing. It was provided orally to planning staff. As mentioned in the presentation this evening, generally speaking, comments related to parking and traffic as a result of construction, where the construction equipment vehicle is going to park, et cetera. So generally speaking, much of the comments related to that and concerns that would result if parking was around the small cul-de-sac end of Chelsworth, whether or not mail carriers could deliver mail to the adjacent and surrounding property owners, whether emergency vehicles can access the neighborhood if construction vehicles are there, et cetera. So largely the concerns were the same, but the concerns that were raised were described by Mr. Wong in his presentation.
And so we have project-specific conditions that takes care of that issue, correct?
So generally speaking, we have project-specific conditions of approval that address really best practices for construction. We require property owners during construction to include construction fences to help contain construction materials and dust, et cetera. We require contractors to water down the site, do the appropriate grading, et cetera. And more than not, in more instances than not, during construction, once in this case, the home is demolished, construction vehicles will likely park on site. We do have with us today the applicant, and we can have them come to the podium and attest to that. Staff has had discussions with them, and that is their intent. But as a solution, if in the instance where construction vehicles cannot park on site within that construction fence, as mentioned this evening, it's recommended, or their intent is that they will park on the west side of Moorshire, where there are no entrances to residential homes along the west side of Moorshire. But if you'd like, we can call the applicant up to clarify or acknowledge that intent.
Yeah, I'd love to talk to the homeowners, but I'm going to finish my question so I
Absolutely.
don't waste their time at all.
Absolutely.
So one of the letters suggested there is a screenshot of a letter from the post office of sorts, and I apologize, I can't read it on the email, but this is something that I've heard for the first time. Can you shed some light on what that concern is and why the post office wouldn't deliver?
If I may, and the material that you're referencing was provided as part of the written comment, and it appears to be a screenshot provided to that resident who provided the public comment of some material they received from the United States Postal Service. And it essentially provides guidance to residential property owners to ensure that vehicles or other structures along residential streets are not blocking mailboxes that are at the street frontage. And we do actually, on our city's website, we do have guidance for residential property owners about the appropriate locations for mailboxes and guidelines for the placement of mailboxes in furtherance of that guidance provided by the Postal Service or the USPS. But again, unfortunately, the screenshot that was provided in written comments is a little fuzzy, but it is it appears to be guidance from the post office about the need for mailboxes to be fully accessible by postal carriers and postal carrier vehicles in furtherance of providing mail delivery in and around the residential neighborhoods in Cerritos.
Thank you very much for that. You have a project-specific condition 43, and it talks about the mullions on the windows. This is my first time hearing about it, so would you give me a little bit more detail as to why this has been added and what is so special about it?
Yes, absolutely. So this commission may remember a while back, and this is not related to this house, we had a residential property owner propose accordion-style glass doors in their front elevation. And that, at that time, and I'll circle back to this project, at that time, the city had consistently not supported the accordion doors in the front elevations of homes due to potential privacy and security concerns. And there was a very productive conversation amongst the commission and staff and the property owners at that time. And so I'm circling back to this. The mullion style windows that are proposed for this house is not a typical application of the mullion style windows on residential properties. They are typically found on industrial and commercial properties, and the city, to my knowledge and to staff's knowledge, has not received a proposal for windows that has come before the Planning Commission that have mullions. And so we worked with the property owner and the applicant, and through refinements of the design, got the proposal to a place where staff is comfortable with, of course, the concurrence of the Planning Commission by way of the resolution approving the precise plan, recommending to the Planning Commission approval of the application of mullion-styled windows for this residential property as kind of a test case. We don't have photos. We don't have actual installations of these windows on residential properties here in Cerritos. And so as a result of that, as mentioned, staff has added a project-specific condition of approval to, if this project is approved by the Planning Commission this evening, to allow those windows on a one-time test case whereby through construction and once those windows are installed, the city staff, the city manager's office can inspect the windows and see if the windows, once installed, are compatible with the neighborhood and the design of the home, and really to see, the impact of trying out these new windows in the city. And if upon installation, and if it's the concurrence of the Planning Commission, staff can provide a follow-up to the Planning Commission to let you know the results of, once they're in, what our thoughts are for future or subsequent installations on other proposals in Cerritos. But rather than at this point recommending that the Planning Commission approve the project, but require the applicant to change the windows to the more traditional windows with either stucco trim or trimmed windows, staff working with the applicant recommended, and with concurrence of the city manager, that we try these windows on a trial basis, because we won't know what they look like until we see them. And so that is what is proposed this evening. And with concurrence by the applicants to be kind of the test case for this new modern type of installation of windows.
So is your concern aesthetics, or is it structural, or what are the actual concerns you have about the window?
Aesthetics and, like I said, they mirror kind of storefront design. They're storefront windows that you would find in retail stores or on commercial applications, and they're just not a typical application on residential properties. And so it's not to say that they won't absolutely be beautiful. The home that was designed and the home that is designed by the applicant with the property owners is absolutely beautiful. But as I mentioned, we don't have any homes in Cerritos with these storefront windows, and we'd like to see their application on a residential property. And through this project-specific condition of approval will give us the ability to try it out.
And in this neighborhood, at least based on the pictures, and I'm looking in my trip to the house, none of the neighbors in that entire tract have had any major improvements. And so these are fairly old structures in that, and this should stand out because it's probably a very modern looking one. So, and I've said this before, and this has always been my stance. If somebody's changing it to a better aesthetic, just because it doesn't match up with the rest of the homes, I don't think that should be considered against the homeowner or to the design. And I concur with you. I think the design is brilliant. I really like it. Based on the pictures, though, I can't quite tell what the big deal is with this one, so I trust you when you say you need to look at it. But yeah, those were my questions, and then...
If I may, you had just mentioned if we need to look at it. If I may just provide one point of clarification, that if and when, as I mentioned, this is a test case, so if and when the windows are installed, whether we believe it is compatible with the neighborhood or aesthetically in line with the design of other properties, those windows will stay. This is a one-time test case for this home, and so we will not require the removal of those windows if we decide that it's not an appropriate design for future installations. I just want to provide that clarification that results of the test case will not alter the design of this home.
Thank you for that clarification. I didn't understand that earlier.
Thank you.
And if it's okay, Chair, would you like to finish the questions from the commissioner before we ask the owner? Okay, I'll defer it. I'll defer it.
Okay, thank you, Vice Chair Gandhi. Commissioner Polito.
Thank you, Chair. Vice Chair Gandhi, kind of asked some of my questions. But then also, my other additional question is, I guess, with the garage windows. So does that have the same review and approval as mullion windows? Because it says here that it's dependent on the review and approval of the department and the homeowners association. So is that kind of the same review process?
No, so the garage doors, the requirement under project-specific condition of approval 43 is the requirement that the windows in the garage doors be fixed windows, meaning they don't open, and then also obscure glass so you can't see out of them. That is not a trial condition. That is noted in here as a project-specific condition of approval to ensure that those windows are not, that they are fixed and obscured glass like other requirements for garage doors in the city of Cerritos.
Thank you for the clarification. I had another question, and then I think a comment question. The second question was on the first floor plan. It says there's a dirty kitchen. What is that?
I would, if it would be all right, Commissioner Polito, refer to the applicant for that. My assumption is where all the appliances will be and like the prep work for a kitchen, but I would defer to the applicant when called to the podium to identify for the commission the intent of the dirty kitchen.
Are you okay with deferring that until we've gone and then they can only come up, or they'll come up once and answer all our questions?
Sure.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you. And then my last comment was on that map with the Chelsworth Lane and Warshire Drive. It looked like it said there was a Laura School on there. I'm guessing, is that an actual school or a home business? And my concern would be with the construction and if that is indeed a school, I guess the safety issues.
So the image that was provided during the PowerPoint presentation was an image, a screen grab from Google Maps. Staff cannot verify the validity that business exists at that property, but we can definitely look into it. And there was another business shown as well on that aerial image. But, you know, we can't verify the validity of the Google Maps businesses, but we can look into it. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all my questions.
Would, if it's a business in Cerritos, would it need a business license?
Absolutely.
Did we check our business license database?
Not for those two homes, because the focus of staff work on that aerial map was for Chelsworth, but we will certainly do so following this meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Polito. Commissioner Jafari?
I do not have any question, but I'd like to make a comment for sure, is that I'm glad that the city is being a little more flexible now with the newer kind of windows and not just sticking to the old traditional style that we've always had. So thank you to all of you.
Thank you, Commissioner Jafari. So I have a couple of questions. I want to define obscured and who makes the determination that it's obscured enough for the glass in the garage windows, in the garage doors rather.
So staff, as Commissioner Polito mentioned, subject to the review and approval by the Department of Community Development, throughout various stages of construction, staff conducts site inspections. Los Angeles County building inspector conducts site inspections as well. And so it's through the inspection process where that will be verified. Really, the intent of obscured glass is so that members outside of the residence can't see into the garage. We have this requirement also for bathroom windows, and we also have for balconies as well. So it works both ways, right? We don't want members of the public to be able to see into the garage, see into the balcony, see into the bathrooms, and or whatever's stored within those garages, those balconies, and those bathrooms. But then also it serves for privacy purposes for the residential homeowners as well.
Okay. So yeah, no one wants to see in my garage. So that obscured thing is a good thing. I just wanted to make sure that it's not someone's unilateral decision, like this is obscured enough. Okay, so you guys are involved in that. The first floor windows that have the mullions, is that how you say it, mullions? I'm assuming they don't open. Is that a correct assumption?
Yes, thank you, Chair. That is a correct assumption.
Okay. The last question that I had was, we've seen a lot of renderings, a lot of figures. I want to look again at the balcony issue because I want to see, we've said that it doesn't look into anybody's place, but I was not comfortable with understanding exactly where the balcony is in correlation to the adjacent property.
Thank you. If I could, Mr. Wong, if you could pull up the perspective rendering of the front elevation.
So that balcony looks back to the street and then looks into the neighbor's yard on the left. And we're saying that that doesn't have any line of sight into the neighbor's yard on the left. Did I make a correct assumption of what thought I was hearing?
If I may, so the balcony shown here on the screen, for purposes of this conversation, we'll just talk about the side of the balcony that faces the adjacent property owners. That property does not directly align with any windows of the adjacent two-story home. What is that, to the west? And so when we say privacy concerns, it's concerns that the residential property owner of this home could stand on their balcony and look through windows of the adjacent property's home. We don't foresee that happening because there is no alignment of the windows. And then vice versa, the property to the west being in their home and being able to see directly up onto the balcony. And so we do require that to have the solid base of the balcony for that purpose as well.
Okay, so the comments that were made about the balcony, was it from one of the neighbors?
I'll defer to Mr. Wong, who spoke to the resident specifically.
Sorry, Senior Planner Jeremy Lowe. I actually was the one to speak to the adjacent neighbor as Mr. Wong was out of the office. So the immediate neighbor to the south of the subject property, that was the one that was concerned about privacy from the balcony. And if Mr. Wong could show the adjacent neighbor plan. So basically on the left-hand side of that image is that neighbor that was concerned about privacy. And if you look at the front of the proposed residence, and then you look at that there's a second floor window on that adjacent neighbor residence. The balcony basically doesn't align. You would have to basically, standing on the balcony, kind of peek out to actually look at their window. And so that second floor wall at the back of the balcony doesn't align with the that window.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Is there an objective definition of obscure, or is this a subjective decision? Because we do have a lot of projects where we require obscure windows. So is this a subjective thing, or is there an objective way to say this is an obscure window?
I'm not sure if it is defined in the Los Angeles County Building Code for obscurity, but essentially, if it meets the intent where you can't see in it, it is with obscured glass.
So they don't sell, and I'm sorry for this question because I don't know
No,
much
that's
about it,
okay.
but they don't sell gradation of obscurity on the glass, right?
I am not. I apologize. I do not know. As mentioned, you know, in staff through our inspections and Los Angeles County building inspectors, it's the inspection of whether or not you can see through the material, the glass.
So it's dependent on the inspector what they do the inspection
And staff, yes.
and staff. Okay. And the other question I had was, are there any other homes with balconies on that cul-de-sac right now? Do you know?
I don't believe that staff knows. We could ask the property owners to provide insight, or while the applicant is addressing the questions previously raised by the Planning Commission, staff would be happy to look into it. It is a little tricky because this property is within Shadow Park. I do want to reiterate that this property is in Shadow Park, and the proposed design has also, in addition to staff, undergone a comprehensive design review of the HOA board for Shadow Park. But what I was saying, it was difficult. It's difficult because Shadow Park streets are private streets, so you can't do Google Street View within Shadow Park. But perhaps we can ask the applicant or property owners here today if any other homes have balconies on that street.
Yeah, the purpose of the question is we've had a discussion in the past where we had a homeowner who was building a balcony, and apparently the neighbor had an issue with it in terms of privacy. And it almost feels like every time a homeowner is coming up with a new design with a balcony, they're at a disadvantage because somebody or other already has something sitting there. And so all the adjustments have to be done by the homeowner. And so my position on that was it's been pretty consistent on that. So that was the purpose to ask.
Thank you. And then I'll also add that through staff's design review and the project design, we work with applicants and property owners to revise or amend project designs to, in all scenarios, prevent direct alignment of windows to windows, windows to balconies, balconies to windows, et cetera. And so that is, and the commission is aware in the staff reports and in our presentations, that is also why we require this adjacent neighbor plan. We want to know of the proposed project, where are your second story windows? Where are the balconies? And how many feet are in between the subject property's second floor window and the adjacent neighbor second floor window, and to the rear, and to, you know, on all sides. And that is very carefully considered. And oftentimes, if I'm honest, if it does result in architects and property owners having to revise window location and window placement in specific rooms, and you know, reshuffling what room is what, because you know, at the end of the day, the property owners of this home, they don't want to be able to see into their neighbors' homes, and vice versa. And so through the diligent efforts of staff, as well as the great applicants and property owners in the city, we do everything we can to mitigate any potential view or privacy concerns through the project's design.
Yeah, this is specifically for balconies. We've had this issue come up time and again
Yes.
and time and again. And I think every time there is a citizen who's trying to improve their property and make that investment, they are restricted or they're dictated by what somebody else has had there before. So they have to change the plans. And I think it's a little bit of imposing of a burden on them. So that was the reason. Yeah. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. At this point, we'll go ahead and open the public comments on this agenda item 6A. And seeing that the commission has some questions, if you will step forward and state your name for the record, that'd be great. And Vice Chair Gandhi, we'll start with you.
Hi, my name is Amit Patel. I'm the homeowner.
Firaz Jamal, I'm the designer.
All right. So thank you very much for coming up to the podium to answer the questions, and congratulations to both of you. This is a very unique and beautiful design that you are investing in. My question was, there's another question, but have you spoken to your neighbors about this thing?
I have not. I just recently found out about the comments.
Okay, so my experience has been if you speak to your neighbors and let them know what's going on and just kind of understand their concerns, a lot of this tends to get solved. So as far as that parking issue is concerned, if you talk to them, make sure they understand, you understand, and then you work together, in my experience, it tends to work out. But that was the one question. That's it. But congrats.
Okay, and I'd just like to add a comment to that. For the parking, we've put this stipulation, I guess, or this requirement that they don't park on necessarily the Chellsworth, but they park on the Moorshire. How does that get enforced?
If I may, Chair, so staff is not recommending that be a project-specific condition of approval requiring them to park on Moorshire. The applicant and the property owner here before you has had discussions with staff, and they have indicated that is their intent. And so we can have them speak to that. But staff, as like the commission, we encourage property owners who are doing construction to be good neighbors and respect your adjacent properties. And the property owner and the architect have indicated their commitment to doing so. And so we did not, what's before you today does not include the project specific condition of approval requiring that.
Okay, so that's good. That's good understanding. I appreciate that your intent is to have that happen with the parking because it's a long cul-de-sac, and I think it's being a good neighbor. And so connecting to what you were saying, I would even say to my neighbors, if it becomes an issue, come to me right away, right? And you guys can work it out, no animosity, and we're not putting it in as a recommended condition of approval. So it really leaves the onus on you to make sure it's good with your neighbors. But thank you that you've already stated you have that intent. That's half the challenge. Okay, so I think Commissioner Polito, you'd like to ask a question?
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Yes, my question earlier was about what is the dirty kitchen?
Yes, the dirty kitchen is mostly like a preparation kitchen. The main kitchen right now is open to the living room. So sometimes they want to make feast or cooking or preparation for that. They use the dirty kitchen to do the preparation. So most of the cooking will be in the dirty kitchen, while the main kitchen remains nice and clean and used for everyday use, basically.
Thank you.
And mostly like a pantry. You'll have pantry in there as well. Yeah.
Okay, great. So then you said it'll have a pantry in there, and then it looks like there's similar appliances to the regular kitchen.
Yes.
The dirty kitchen.
There will be cooking over there as well. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Polito. Commissioner Jafari?
I'm pretty familiar with Shadow Park, and I've seen many projects happening in and around Shadow Park, and I think parking should never be such a big concern that we need to discuss at length about the parking there, especially in Shadow Park, because I think that we should leave it to the applicant and the neighbors, and they should be able to amicably take care of that. Because no matter wherever the case may be, the parking, there could be some issues with the neighbors. So having said that, especially Shadow Park, there have been projects I've seen in cul-de-sac areas, and so it's always worked out. So I don't think so that should be a major issue.
Okay, thank you. If that's all the questions, then we'll, you guys can go back to your seat unless you had something else you want to share.
Yeah, if you don't mind, just
No, please do, yeah.
I want to basically first thank the staff because we've been working on this for a long time, and we did make a lot of modification changes to appease the staff, and I think we ended up with a better project. As far as the balcony, we take privacy seriously when it comes, especially to Cerritos, myself, and the design. So the balcony isn't facing the front yard. So even the side part of it, if you look at the side plan, you'll see that it's not overlooking the side yard or the backyard of the neighboring house. It's overlooking their front yard as well. So I think that basically takes care of that. As far as the parking, again, the owner will make sure to let the contractors know that any construction vehicles should be parked either on site, which will be fenced off per city requirement and building code requirement, because we'll have grading plan and erosion control plan that requires fencing with silt on it and sandbags and all that beyond the sidewalk. So construction vehicles, as much as possible, will be parked on site. If there's additional vehicles that need to park for lengthy period of time, they'll park on Moorshire and walk to the site. Plus, I mean, I know there was concerns about blocking driveways, or that's illegal to begin with. You cannot park in front of driveway and block it, and since there's so many curb cuts, there's not a lot of places to park over there anyway. So just as far as the mullions or the window type, I appreciate the progressive take on this, that the staff is willing to take a chance on this. I think it will look good or great, in my opinion. As far as the material, it's not going to be commercial type that you see on aluminum glass. It's the same material as will be applied for the rest of the windows. So it will be consistent as far as the material, color, and all that. And we reduced the amount of, or the number of mullions on it to make it look less of commercial. It's what we care about is more sunlight coming in to the house. And yes, it is a little bit more modern, but that's the case with everybody now. If everybody comes to us, they want even more modern homes. We try to kind of tone it down to make it acceptable to the neighborhood or the neighbors. But considering everybody now is looking for that, so I assume that in the future, more projects and more homeowners want newer homes, more modern looking homes, not repeating the same beautiful homes that are existing, but also exploring something new I think is something good for the future of the city as well.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you have another comment?
Yeah, I did have a comment. There's a house right where that gate is when you go out on Shoemaker, which is a similar design to yours. It looks like it to me. It's already been constructed at this point.
Wolverton?
Huh?
Right by the
Moorshire, yeah.
and that gate, Shoemaker gate.
That Shoemaker gate right next to it. So you're right. I think more and more homes will come up, and the look of the neighborhood will eventually change. So, yeah, that's just something that came to mind. So I wanted to make it.
Yeah, to the better. One last thing about the garage door glass. I mean, this is based on the industry of garage doors. They make them typical. They're meant to be obscure. Obviously, very few people would want people looking into the inside of their garage. So it will be reflective. No light will come out and no light will come in. So basically, it's just mainly for the looks, just to give it some modern look. But it will be private and obscure completely.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so any further discussion amongst the panel? The commission, go ahead. Oh, thank you. At this point, I will close the public comments on this agenda item and ask for a motion to waive the full reading of and adopt a resolution of the Cerritos Planning Commission approving Precise Plan 2025-1.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, so I have a motion to adopt by Commissioner Javari and a second by Vice Chair Gandhi. Can we vote, please?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Give me one moment and I will activate the live voting. Motion by Commissioner Javari, second by Vice Chair Gandhi. Commissioners now may place their vote. All votes in. Motion carries by a vote of 4-0 with Commissioner Byrd noted absent. Thank you.
Thank you. Have you presented to us before designs? I remember you, and it always has been Progressive Designs. We like it. It's a beautiful design, by the way, and so congratulations on that. We look forward to seeing it when it's complete. So let's move on to item 6B on the agenda, and it's to consideration to waive full reading and adopt a resolution of Cerritos Planning Commission approving the Precise Plan 2025-2. Who will be presenting this to us?
Thank you, Chair. The item for Precise Plan 2025-2 this evening will be presented by Senior Planner Jeremy Lowe. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Aguila. Good evening, Chair and members of the Cerritos Planning Commission. The property owners of 19716 Meadows Circle are requesting approval of Precise Plan 2025-2 to construct a 627 square foot first floor addition and a 334 square foot second floor addition to an existing single family residence. I'd like to direct your screen for our presentation. This is an aerial photo of the subject property, which is generally located west of Bloomfield Avenue and south of 195th Street, and is in close proximity to Don Knabe Regional Park. This is an enlarged aerial view showing details of the subject property. The property is bordered on the east and west by single-family homes and is bordered on the north by Meadows Circle. And the property is bordered on the south by a drainage channel and a Los Angeles County Metropolitan Transit Authority right-of-way. This is a view of the front of the existing two-story residence looking south from the middle of the Meadows Circle cul-de-sac. As part of the project review, staff observed several maintenance issues on the property, which will need to be corrected as part of the project for compliance with City of Cerritos Municipal Code standards. Here, you can see a green open metal gate on the eastern side yard. Project-specific condition of approval 42 has been added to require the replacement of the existing gate with a solid gate or the addition of a solid backing to the existing gate. In addition, if the homeowner chooses to add a solid backing, both the gate and the backing will be required to be painted a color approved under the city's color palette. This is another view of the front of the home. Here you can see where landscape planters have been replaced with stone paving and concrete, which is currently in disrepair. The proposed project, however, includes restoring the landscape planters between the driveway and the walkway, as well as replacement of the entry walkway with a ramp. On the left is a view of the eastern property line of the subject property looking south from the sidewalk. Here you can see exposed piping affixed to the property line with hose bibs for irrigation. Project-specific condition of approval 43 has been added to require the removal of all piping attached to property line walls. Additionally, here you can see a close-up view of a portion of the previously mentioned green open metal gate. On the right is a view of the western property line showing piping affixed to the property line wall and hose bib for irrigation. The previously mentioned project-specific condition of approval 43 applies to this piping as well. This is the proposed site plan. As mentioned, the applicants are proposing to add 627 square feet to the first floor and 334 square feet to the second floor. As proposed, the project will meet all setback and lot coverage requirements. This is a zoomed-in site plan and adjacent neighbor plan. The homes to the east and west of the subject property are single-story residences with no alignment of second-story windows. The property is bordered on the south by the drainage channel, and there is a balcony proposed at the rear of the residence, but will be screened to the east by a screen wall, and I'll show that on the floor plans. As such, all privacy issues that may arise from approval of the project will be resolved due to existing walls screening the first floor windows and no alignment of second floor windows. This is the proposed first floor plan showing existing walls to be demolished, as well as the additions. The first floor will be expanded and remodeled to enlarge the living room and kitchen areas, and when completed, the first floor will include an entry foyer, a powder room, a living room, dining room, kitchen, sunroom, a bedroom with a bathroom, 2 elevators, and a 2-car garage. This is the proposed second floor plan. The second floor will include a master bedroom with 2 walk-in closets and bathroom, a bedroom with a bathroom, another bedroom, a laundry room, playroom, family room, office, another powder room, and 2 elevators. The rear balcony will have a screen wall that's solid. This is the proposed front elevation. Upon completion, the residence will be finished with La Habra Pacific Sand colored stucco to match the existing stucco, and will have bare ultra pure white colored stucco trims and fascia. The gables will be finished with cedar mill hardy plank vertical siding, and in addition, the front elevation includes existing bricks and white painted vertical siding just above the garage doors. That's existing. This is the rear elevation. Again, showing all windows will be detailed with a minimum 4-inch wide trim. This is the east side elevation. The roof will be a terracotta blended tile. In addition, a 1-foot wide painted band will wrap around the entire home as an added decorative element. This is the west side elevation, which features the same architectural enhancements found on the other elevations and the existing chimney. The architect has prepared a color palette and material board for the Planning Commission's review, provided at the dais. All exterior colors and materials will be subject to the approval of the Department of Community Development to ensure that these elements complement the entire house and surrounding homes. This concludes the PowerPoint presentation. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission approve Precise Plan 2025-2 subject to all conditions of approval contained in the report. This project is categorically exempt from secret review, and to date, staff has not received any public comments as a result of the public hearing notices. Tonight, the architect is in the audience, and at this time, staff is available to answer any questions that the Planning Commission may have. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. We will start with Vice Chair Gandhi.
Thank you, Chair. Would you give me a little bit more information about this balcony thing again?
Definitely. Give me 1 second. So, unfortunately, you cannot see my cursor, but on the right-hand side of this is the rear elevation. On the right-hand side of the balcony, you see that white line. That's actually going to be a wall. So on this side elevation, on the left-hand side would actually be the rear of the residence. You cannot see the balcony and there is no railing because there will be a solid wall. So if you could see, oh, here, I can annotate.
It's enclosed like the front balcony in the current picture, I think.
So if you see,
On one end at least.
Here, the thing moved. Excuse me. So, why did it move? So that is actually a solid wall, and the balcony is behind that. Why is it not working?
Essentially
This is
on
the rear of the house?
essentially on the east side elevation, the balcony wall that faces the adjacent neighbor will be a complete wall. And so if you look on the elevation, yes, right there where Mr. Lowe is pointing, that actually is a wall of the balcony, not the home.
This
And
is
so
towards the front of the house or the
the
back of the house?
side.
the
This is
rear.
the rear side.
The rear side. And you are trying to create privacy for which neighbor?
Yes. So if you'll see here, the rear balcony is on this side, facing this way across the neighbor's backyard, as well as to other residences.
Okay. So if you didn't do that, they would be able to look into the neighbor's backyard? Is that the concern?
Correct. The backyard, as well as the rear of other residences.
Okay. So this again goes to my point. It's almost like a penalty on somebody who's trying to do something because of the fact that the way the neighboring structures are set up. Okay. Thanks for that explanation.
So I'm gonna belabor it. So if you look at Exhibit 10 in the packet that we got, I'm like, to me, this is the front of the house.
That's what I thought.
Is this, I mean, that's where the garage door is. So is Exhibit 10 the front of the house?
Exhibit 10 is the front of the house. So,
Okay.
so there is a balcony on the front and the rear.
So can you bring this slide up then? Okay, so that to the far right of the actual structure of the house, it says wood guardrail and then it says trim color white, but that's an actual wall there.
Not on the front elevation. So if you look on this west side elevation, you can see the front railing of the balcony. It's the east side rear balcony that won't be visible.
So the front will be open, but the back will not.
That's correct.
Okay, that's much more clear for me. Thank you.
Just
Go ahead.
Just the one more question. No comments were given by any neighbors about the privacy issue, yes?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to Commissioner Polito.
Thank you, Chair Gilheis. My question was about the, because this is, I can't recall, but I think this is maybe the first time I've seen about 2 elevators in the home. So what are the guidelines or, I guess with people that want elevators in their home?
So basically, there's no restriction on elevators in residential properties, so they would just need to follow California Building Code and other state or federal regulations related to elevators. It's my understanding that a member of the family is in a wheelchair, and that's what's driving these improvements.
I would also like to add that, and the commission might be aware, we've been seeing more of the proposals for elevators in homes as the community is aging and people desire to stay in Cerritos. The improvements that are coming before staff and then subsequently before the commission are including various accessibility and mobility improvements that are not historically proposed, but we're seeing it more and more with submittals that come before the commission and then those that also don't.
Great, thank you for the explanation on that. And thank you, staff, for the report, and I have no further questions.
Thank you, Commissioner Polito. Commissioner Jafari? Thank you. Okay, he has none. I'd like to do one go back. Looking at the first floor plan, please. So what I was trying to figure out is you come in the entry, The elevator's on the right. On the left, it looks like it's a doorway that goes down a hallway where there's a bathroom, and then it continues on into the bedroom. There's no doorway on the bedroom, it's just an open entry?
So essentially, that would be a suite. That would be a bedroom with a bathroom.
But you could still enter it from the main room area as well?
That's correct.
Okay.
There are doors on the bedroom. They're just rather light in Exhibit 8. There are doors.
Yeah, but I mean, you can enter the bathroom from the living area. So it's not exactly an ensuite because you'd only be able to enter through the bedroom.
Correct.
So this one allows you to enter the bathroom through the bedroom or through the main living area.
Correct.
Okay. So I don't have any questions.
Question for the homeowner or the architect, if they're in the audience and are willing to.
Let me, so I'll open the public comments. If you'll step to the microphone and give us your name and your role, that would be great. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Ashu Sharma. I am the contractor. We are a design build company. The architect couldn't make it, but if you have any questions, I'll try to answer.
Thank you for coming up to answer. My question was about the elevators. Why two?
So there are two elderly people at home. They are around 85 years of age, and the daughter is on wheelchair. So they want to keep a backup if any elevator goes wrong or bad, they're still functional. That's the main reason.
All right, thank you. Yeah.
All right, sir.
Okay, do we have any other questions for the gentleman while he's there? No? Okay, thank you very much. If there's no other public comments, then I'll close the public comments section and ask for a motion to consider to waive full reading of and adopt a resolution of the Cerritos Planning Commission approving Precise Plan 2025-2.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve by Vice Chair Gandhi and a second by Commissioner Polito. Let's vote.
Thank you, Chair. I'll activate the electronic voting. Now activated. Commissioners may vote. All votes in. Motion carries by a vote of 4-0. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Congratulations on the approval by the commission. Okay, so let's move on to the next agenda item, which is 6C. And it's to have waive the full reading of and adopt a resolution of the Cerritos Planning Commission approving Precise Plan 2025-3. Who will be presenting that for us?
Thank you, Chair. The last residential item this evening includes a first and second floor addition, and this presentation will be provided this evening by Associate Planner Matre Anthony. Thank you.
Good evening, Ms. Aguila. Good evening, Chair and members of the Planning Commission. Property owners at 12527 Sinatra Street are requesting approval for Precise Plan 2025-3 to construct a 1,296 square foot first floor addition and a 1,277 square foot second floor addition to an existing single family residence. For detail of the proposal, I'd like to direct your attention to the screen for a presentation. This is an aerial photo of the subject property, which is generally located west of Bloomfield Avenue and south of South Street. This is an enlarged aerial photo that shows the details of the property. The property is bordered on the north and east by single-family homes on properties zoned RS 6500. The property is bordered on the west by single-family homes on properties zoned RS 5000. And to the south of the subject property is the cul-de-sac end of Sinatra Street, which is a 56-foot wide residential street, across from which your property is also zoned RS 6500. The subject property currently contains several conditions that do not comply with the City of Cerritos Municipal Code or the city's standards for residential properties. This is a view of the rear yard of the subject property looking west and an unpermitted patio cover located in the rear yard, which will be required to be removed under project-specific condition of approval number 42. This is a view of the side yard. Here you can see an unpermitted window air conditioning unit and a fluorescent light fixture. Project-specific conditions have been added to the project to require the removal of both of these items. Lastly, this is a view of the driveway apron showing unpermitted brick pavers in the parkway area. These will be required to replace with organic living plant material per the requirements of the Cerritos Municipal Code. This is the proposed site plan showing the footprint of the home after the completion of the first and second floor additions. This is the adjacent neighbor plan. As shown on the plans, the homes to the north, west, and east of the subject property are two-story residences. The proposed project does not include any revisions to the existing residence or windows on the north and west elevation. In addition, there are no direct alignments of windows on the east elevation and windows on the adjacent residence. Therefore, any possibly privacy issues arising from the window placement have been mitigated through the project's design and existing window condition. And there are no balconies in this project. This is the proposed first floor. When completed, the first floor will include a living room, a family room, a dining room, a kitchen, a mud and laundry room, a bedroom, a bathroom, and 2 powder rooms. This is the proposed second floor plan. When completed, the second floor will include a master bedroom with master bathroom, 4 additional bedrooms with bathrooms, 1 additional bathroom, a laundry room, and a den. This is the proposed front elevation. The residence will be finished with a white-colored smooth stucco and black bean-colored trim. Peruvian teak simulated wood siding will be featured on portions of the front elevation. In addition, the front elevation will include decorative stone, which will wrap around the side elevations along areas that are publicly visible. This is the rear elevation. The residence will be covered with charcoal-colored gray concrete tile. The rear and side elevators will feature architectural band to break up the massing of the home. And this is the east side elevation. All windows and doors will be detailed with minimum 4-inch wide beige limestone trim. And this is the west elevation, which features the same architectural enhancement found on the other elevations. This concludes the PowerPoint presentation. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission approve Precise Plan 2025-3, subject to all the conditions of approval contained in the report. The project is categorically exempt from SEQA review, and to date, staff has not received any comments as a result of the public hearing notice. The representative of the designer is in the audience, and at this time, staff is available to answer any questions the Planning Commission may have. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. Vice Chair Gandhi, do you have questions or comments?
Of course. Yes, sir. On the south elevation, when I'm looking at the picture, I'm having a hard time picturing this white square on the top. Bless you. The white square on the roof. Is that an opening into, or am I just missing something?
Unfortunately, that's a two-dimensional design of what this is going to look like. It's not an opening. I wish I had a roof. In the presentation package, I mean, you can look at the roof plan, which will show the south elevation, that there is a cricket there. It would be on the right side of that roof plan on Exhibit 10.
Okay. And the original, it's a 3-car garage? And
Yes, it is.
Stays a 3-car garage?
Yes, it does.
All right, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Gandhi. Commissioner Polito, do you have questions?
No questions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Javari? Okay, I do have a question. I'd like for you to go back to the exhibit where it's the photo, and you were showing the parkway that had the bricks in it, I think. Okay, so this shape that's right here at the street near the light pole, that's what's going to be put, some kind of vegetation there.
Yes.
Okay. And then I want to know about the wall, the brick wall that's there. So I was trying to read through the information in the packet about the landscaping, because the landscaping on the design, Exhibit 7B, looks really beautiful in that area. But we don't really address that. There is a section on block wall. We don't really address it, but what is going to be required to do to that block wall? Because it looks either it's A, dirty and been painted, or B, it's just been painted, or it looks like it's even starting to erode. So do we have any conditions about that block wall?
We do not have any project-specific conditions of that block wall. However, we can assure that the entire block wall would be painted to match and be one consistent from the property line that of the visible property line area.
So who's responsible for making sure that that block wall has structural integrity?
I can go ahead and address that, Chair Gil-Heiss. It would be through the Los Angeles County building inspectors who would be doing the inspections. If they observe that the wall appears to be not structurally sound, no longer structurally sound, they would, and therefore not in compliance with applicable building code requirements or City of Cerritos maintenance requirements, referring to the painted, what appears to be painted wall. It's a little difficult in this photo. Those would be addressed either by the building inspector, if it's building code, structural integrity, or through planning staff by way of our inspections for our property maintenance would be, peeling paint or inconsistent paint. That would be handled by either city staff or Los Angeles County inspector staff.
So if the inspector comes and sees it and says there's some damage that doesn't have its full structural integrity, they come back to the homeowner, the contractor, and the City of Cerritos?
Correct. So we are fortunate here in Cerritos that we do have Los Angeles County contract personnel here at Cerritos City Hall, Monday through Friday, available to contractors, homeowners, etc. And so they would bring back as part of their inspection a list of corrections, and the corrections would be provided to the homeowner and contractor as part of the project.
Thank you for that. So I think what I'd really like to understand is, as part of this process, when we come to making a motion, if I want to add to the documentation that says that wall will be painted, or it will be all one color, or it will be cleaned, whatever it is we want to add, because I think it's not in there, right? And so to ensure that it happens, we need to put it in the paperwork.
Absolutely. And Chair Gil-Heiss, it would be appropriate when making a motion that the maker of the motion include in their motion the direction for staff to include a project-specific condition of approval as part of the final project-specific conditions of approval to ensure just that the wall is structurally sound and meets applicable City of Cerritos block wall maintenance requirements, whether that be through the consistency of the painted material, or if it's dirty, a power wash, but that be implemented through motion by the maker of the motion as a direction of staff to include a condition of approval at the discretion of the Planning Commission.
Okay. And then in doing that, it requires it to happen on this property up to the property line.
That is correct.
And then moving into the other neighbor's yard, it could look worse, but we have no authority to have that addressed. And so my question would be, how does City of Cerritos kind of mitigate some of that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as I was mentioning, the city does have standards for maintenance that includes block wall maintenance. And through the city's code enforcement division, if a block wall is not being maintained, let's just say hypothetically, right? If hypothetically a block wall has been painted, which, as the commission may recall, the city is not in favor of painting CMU block or any block. We prefer the natural material. Let's just say hypothetically a wall was painted and is deteriorating. That would be through the enforcement of the city's code enforcement division, where we do have the right to ensure that the wall is appropriately maintained.
Okay, thank you. That's the end of my comments or questions. Vice Chair Gandhi?
Yeah, I have a quick question.
Okay.
You guys mentioned structural integrity of the wall. This is a common wall between two properties. Just because somebody is doing construction now, the responsibility of fixing it falls on them?
So, if I may, for all walls in the city that split property line, property owners have a few options, right? So, based on this photo, and again, it's just a photo, it's difficult to see. It doesn't appear that the wall is having structural issues, but that would be verified by staff. But generally speaking, for walls that split property lines, assuming there's no HOA, none of that, if a homeowner wants to come in and replace that wall, and the homeowner, by way of our application process, is required to get the signature of the adjacent property owner authorizing the replacement. Now, who pays for that is usually worked out. Not usually, it is worked out amongst property owners. There are scenarios where the city will issue a notice of violation to a property owner for, let's just say, a crumbling wall, right? And the subject property owner who received the violation says, no, that's not my wall, that is my neighbor's wall. In those scenarios, residents will retain the services of a property surveyor to identify exactly where the property line is. And once determined, that will tell that property owner or the two property owners in that scenario exactly where that wall lines. Most of the time in Cerritos, and we're talking walls splitting two residential properties, most of the time when they were originally built, the wall splits property lines. And so it would be the responsibility of both property owners. There are also lots of scenarios where it is wholly contained on one property owner's property, and then thereby is their responsibility. But we're very fortunate. We talked about being good neighbors earlier in this meeting, and the city is very fortunate that oftentimes when we receive applications for block wall removal and replacement, it does come with the affected property owner signatures, and that discussion regarding the responsibility and payment has already been worked out. The city, we don't get involved. That's a civil matter between neighbors.
Yeah, no, my concern again is just because the homeowner wants to invest in something, it shouldn't be an undue burden just because of that. Looking at the picture, I don't think, I'll kind of agree. I don't think the paint is necessary. I think the natural would be looking nice. It just needs some
Absolutely.
touch-up. And Chair, if the owner is here and you want to get assurances, you could do that, I think, rather than adding a condition in that.
Yeah, it's up to the purview of the Planning Commission how you'd like to proceed.
Okay, that's a good point. So then what I'll do is open public comments.
Okay.
And we have two people left in the audience. Is this your property here? No, and I. Oh, okay. Could you come step forward and state your name and what your role is?
My name is Asha George, and I'm representing the designer contractor for this project.
Okay, so have you been privy to any of the discussions that have gone on about this actual wall?
No, not
Okay, yeah, that's fair. So I think understanding that we have no one here to really represent them, we either have to make a decision as a commission that we're going to include that requirement, or we're not, and then we're going to ask the city to go back and talk to them. But then that gives no leverage that it would actually be included to happen. So do you have recommendations?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I would recommend, if it is by way of motion, the Planning Commission's recommendation that we could include a project-specific condition of approval requiring staff and to work with the property owner to ensure that the existing block wall meets all applicable City of Cerritos property maintenance requirements for block walls. And then that will enable the city to further inspect the wall, and if it is indeed painted, inspect and require that it meet those requirements.
That's probably a good compromise. Before we let,
Can I ask a question?
no, of course you can.
Is this a code violation the way it is currently?
I don't know. I can ask Associate Planner Matre Anthony, who took this photo. It is, and I apologize, when I inspected the site, I don't know if this is indeed painted. We can ask the applicant, Ms. George, do you know if this wall is painted? Is that shadowing? Is it dirt?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
If I may.
Yeah.
Combination of yes to all of it. It's dirt, may have some paint. This photo was taken literally at 3 something in the afternoon. So I can't necessarily, but I can guarantee you that we can discuss this with the applicant about including maintenance of the wall. Please note that the Cerritos Municipal Code requires that any new block wall in the front yard setback must be decorative or stucco to match the home. Technically, painting is not allowed.
So what you're saying is it is in code violation?
If that's paint, yes, it's a code violation.
Okay, so if the homeowner is in code violation, obviously they have to correct it, which would require them to do whatever is necessary, whether we add a condition or not. True?
Yes, that is true, but because we can't speak with 100% certainty on whether or not that wall is painted or not, my recommendation would be that we include a generic project condition of approval to ensure that the wall meets the current City of Cerritos property maintenance or block wall maintenance requirements of the Cerritos Municipal Code.
So I see it as a compromise,
Can I say
right?
something?
Yeah, hang on one second. I
Okay.
was saying, I see it as a compromise that we're putting a check and balance into the condition that just says, hey, and I'll just be blunt, City of Cerritos staff, go make sure this is compliant. It's not assigning any more cost because it needs to be compliant. And it's our way as a commission of checking the city to say, please make sure you go and make sure it's compliant. So that's the compromise for me, to add it as a condition at the end.
I concur with you. I don't have a problem with adding the condition. I just think it's just code violation. And they will have to fix it. It just doesn't matter whether it's a condition or not.
That is correct. However, as a project-specific condition, it provides the city more teeth to ensure that code compliance. Let's just say, again, there was no project and code enforcement issued a citation for a painted block wall. There is a code enforcement process to ensure compliance. By including it as a project-specific condition of approval, the project will not be finalized until compliance is ensured.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Commissioner Javari.
I think we need to first find out for sure who owns that wall and who is supposed to be maintaining it. Because based on my personal experience many years ago, when my old house, I had a similar wall, and that next door was a strip plaza. And then I wanted to do something. I came to the city, and I was told that you'll have to go get the permission of the county as well as the owner of that strip plaza. Now, that strip plaza, there were 3 owners. So I had to get the permission of every owner plus the county because they own the wall. So it depends. We'll have to figure out who owns that wall and who is supposed to be maintaining it.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point. If we have no other questions for Ms. George, I'm going to go ahead and let her go back and sit down. Thank you for stepping up to speak to us. I'll go ahead and close public comments as well. The only kind of comment coming back at that is if you look at the picture, this side of the wall could be painted and the other side not. So I think there should be a conversation. The city probably needs to go out and look at that wall in its entirety, look at the other side, because if this in fact is the only side that's painted, the guy that's on the other side, he'd be like, hey, that's your side that's painted, so make sure you fix it. So I think the condition will cause that to happen. It will cause the city to make sure the right thing gets done, talking to the neighbors.
I agree.
Talking to the neighbors, but city will first need to also find out who is supposed to be maintaining it even down the road.
Yeah.
And who actually owns it, whether it's the city, the county, or the neighbors.
Yeah, they can do.
I
they
think
can
the
do that.
condition will get everything clarified.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so if on the planning commission, if there's no more questions or comments,
Yeah, I had a comment.
Commissioner Polito?
I agree with what was said already, because when you look at Exhibit 4, and like what staff was saying, Mr. Anthony, that, yeah, there's 2 different pictures at different times of the day, so it's kind of unclear just by looking at number 1 and the number 2, unless you have close inspection of what's really happening there. So I agree with the discussion that's kind of already been said.
okay, great, thank you. So then I will be looking for a motion, or maybe can I make the motion? Okay. I'd like to make a motion to consider to waive the full reading of and adopt a resolution of the Cerritos Planning Commission approving Precise Plan 2025-3 with the addition or amendment of a, what is it called at the end? A conditional approval, an item of conditional approval.
Project-specific condition of approval.
Project-specific condition of approval added that basically says that the city is going to ensure that the block wall is compliant with the block wall regulations that are already included in the Precise Plan.
In the Cerritos Municipal Code.
Okay, perfect. That's exactly what I said. So,
That sounds really awesome, but I'll second it.
okay, great. So, Chair Gilhai's motion to approve with Vice Chair as a second. Can we vote, please?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Just one moment. I'll activate the live vote. Vote is active. All votes in. Motion carries by a vote of 4-0. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Thank you for joining us tonight. Okay, so we will now move on to reports. 7A, do we have any designated commission liaison reports?
Thank you, Chair Gilheis. I do not have anything to report this evening other than the next Planning Commission meeting date of February 5th, 2025. Thank you.
Thank you for that. So we'll move on to the reports from the Planning Commission members. So Vice Chair Gandhi, do you have anything to report?
Thank you for the opportunity. Just wanted to wish everybody Happy New Year. This is our first meeting in the new year. So a special wish for everybody here in at City Hall and the staff and my fellow commissioners and everybody out there. And Shukran, congratulations and welcome.
Yep.
That's it.
Great. Commissioner Polito?
Thank you, Chair Gilheis. Yes, I'm going to echo some of the comments made by my fellow colleague, Vice Chair Gandhi. Happy New Year to all the residents. Wishing you the best in 2025. And also a warm welcome to Assistant City Manager Patel. We look forward to working with you. And then lastly, I attended ABC Unified School District's Board of Education swearing in and reorganization on December 17th. I wanted to congratulate outgoing President Say on her tenure as president. Congratulations to newly elected and re-elected board members, and to say congratulations, best of luck to Board President Ernie Nishi, Board Vice President Francisco Noyola, and Board Clerk Tatiana Yokoyama Bui. And thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Commissioner Javari?
Happy New Year to the staff of the city and the residents and all my fellow commissioners. And welcome aboard, Attorney Patel.
Okay, great. So just a couple of things. We are entering election season, or we have entered election season for the city. I would encourage all of our candidates to be very familiar with the new sign. Are they rules? Are they, what's the word we want to call them, regulations? They have
Political
changed.
signs.
For the political signs, it has changed since the last political election. So please, what you thought may have been okay to hang signs may have changed with the last update to the regulations for political signs. So please read those. Also wanted to say, yes, we're 2025. Who knew it? I mean, it's crazy. We just had Y2K, didn't we? So now we're at 2025, feeling old, but Happy New Year to everyone. Couple of things I want to say. Thanks to Mr. Eugenio and to Mr. Beach for the things that they did with the school board. I really was enjoying my work with the school board, that Mr. Beach appointed me to a couple of committees, and so I thank him for that. And I'm sad to see him go, but I know he's going on to great things. I also want to remind people that the MLK celebration that's coming, and the city's going to host something, and that's going to be great. And then also, for those of you who don't know, I was born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia. That's the great state of Jimmy Carter. And so with his passing, I just wanted to remind people of the great things he did, the Habitat for Humanity, and tomorrow is supposed to be a day of recognition for him. And whether he was a Democrat or a Republican doesn't matter. He did really great things with our country. And so I just want to pay some respect to him. I also want to welcome our Mr. Patel to our team. We're glad to have you. Seems like there's some conversation going on. Are we good? Okay. So with that, then I will just close this meeting. Thank you.